You're traveling through the unknown, a journey beyond the corners of reality, where the shadows whisper and the chill runs deep. Welcome to the dimension where your deepest fears are given form. This is the Midnight Mystery.
I was awakened by the sound of screeching car tires and muffled dance music playing in the distance. I climbed out of my warm, comfy bed and headed to my window. The glass had frosted over. As I wiped the frost away, I was greeted by the blizzard just outside my window, and the glare of the headlights as a car came speeding by my house and into the night, as the unmistakable sound of DFG's latest CD faded away. As I looked out through the thick snow, I could see what looked like a person laying on the ground. Had I just been woken up by the sound of a hit and run taking place? I quickly put my shoes on, picked up my phone from my bedside table, threw on my coat, and went straight to my front door. After a couple of deep breaths, I went out of the door and began heading down the street towards where I was sure I could see a person laying on the ground. Fighting through the snow, just off in the distance, a dark figure came into focus. Just laying there, it became clear that there was a person laying by the side of the road, and I began to speed up slightly, working up to a slow jog to where the person was lying. But as I got closer, I recognized who it was, laying on the ground. Long brown hair, soft pale skin, a black dress with a single white stripe down the left-hand side that I had seen her wearing in many pictures. The woman laying on the ground. It was my mother. In a blind panic, not knowing what to do, I dropped to my knees as tears filled my eyes, the cold snow bombarding my face. I reached my hand into my pocket and pulled out my phone, unlocked it, and dialed 9999. Nothing. No ringing. No voice. Just dead silence. It hadn't occurred to me at that moment, but I couldn't even hear the wind or the distant cars anymore. I tried to call the emergency services a second time, and nothing. What is wrong with this phone? Unwilling to give up, I tried again. Only this time I could hear something. You know, that old dial-up tone that your computer would make when connecting to the internet in the early 2000s. The buzzing and screeching as if your computer was struggling to process information. That's the sound I could hear. After a couple of seconds, the sound just stopped. And then I could hear my alarm directly in my ear, scaring me half to death and waking me up from what is easily the worst dream I've ever had in my life. Upon waking up, I laid in bed for a little while thinking about my mother. She had died in a hit and run when I was only 5 years old. The driver was never caught. It's been almost 20 years since that night, and now, I think I have a way I can finally see my mum again. I'm not talking about death or black magic, no. I think I've found a way to jump dimensions. I was browsing the internet one night, looking for some new creepypasta to listen to, when I came across a channel with a video about dimensional jumping. Intrigued, I watched the video. It said that people on Reddit claim they are able to jump from one dimension to another using one of two methods known as the mirror method and the two glasses method. But the girl in the video said she had never tried it herself. Now, I'm a firm believer that there are infinite dimensions out there, that in each dimension there is another version of the world as you know it. But anything from one minor detail to everything you know about the world can be different. That somewhere out there is a dimension where my mother is still alive. After heading over to Reddit, I found it relatively easy to find the RR Dimensional Jumping Board, a simple board with the heading 492, and many posts ranging from where is the best place to try the glass method, and questions about jumps to feel like I'm home, and it worked. Right at the top of the page was a post telling you how to jump between dimensions. According to Reddit, a jumper must get 2 glasses, one full of water and one empty. They then must get 2 pieces of paper. On one piece of paper, they must write a word of phrase that summarizes the current situation they wish to change, then stick it to the full glass. And on the second, they must write a word or phrase that summarizes their ideal situation and stick it to the empty glass. Sitting in front of the 2 glasses, the jumper must then contemplate how their life is filled with the first situation, much like the first glass, and how their life is empty of the desired situations, like the second glass. Then, when they are ready, they must pour the water from the first glass into the second, while listening to the sound of the water and feeling the shift from dimension to another. They must then sit back and focus on the glasses in their new state for a moment or two, before drinking the water and waiting for all the changes to take place. So yesterday, after getting in from work, I hung my coat up by the door, made myself something to eat, and then sat in my kitchen and attempted the 2 glasses method. I wrote on one piece of paper, "Mum dead," and on the other, "Mum alive." After attempting to jump, I went to bed and had that god-awful dream. I figured that maybe that was a sign, or maybe I'd just been thinking about it too much. Either way, nothing felt different this morning. Looking at my clock, I saw it was 7:30 and realized I had no chance of getting to work on time. So I decided to call in sick. I got up out of bed and picked my coat up off the floor as a small lump of what looked like snow dropped onto the floor, landing in a damp patch where my coat was laying. That's strange. It hasn't snowed in months, I thought to myself, quite puzzled. And I could have sworn I hung this up last night. I headed out of my room and downstairs to the house phone to call my boss. I hung my coat up on the coat rack, picked up the phone and began to dial work. But after dialing the number, I heard that same dial-up tone which I heard in my dream and jumped back, dropping the phone on the floor. I stood staring at the phone for a few seconds when I could just make out a faint voice on the other end. "Hello? Hello, is anybody there? I'm hanging up the phone." Hi Rogers, sorry, the phone slipped out of my hand," I said, cutting in. "I'm just calling in to say that I won't be able to make it into work this morning. I've been up most of the night with some sort of sickness bug." "That's fine. Thanks for letting me know. Who's speaking, by the way?" My boss questioned. "It's Alex." I responded, "Alex? Alex who?" "Alex Clark from sales." "I'm sorry. I think you've got the wrong number." "No, Roger, it's me, Alex. We don't have anybody working here called Alex. I'm sorry. Anyway, I must go. We need to keep this emergency line available at all times," Roger said, hanging up the phone. What the Did Roger just fire me? I thought to myself, staring dumbfounded at the phone. What a dick. I began to walk to the kitchen to make myself a coffee, and I saw a woman with long brown hair and a black dress with a white stripe walk straight past the door, stopping me dead in my tracks. "Mom?" I said with a shaky voice, but got no reply. As I entered the kitchen, there was nobody there. "Where did you go?" I said out loud, feeling kind of ridiculous talking to an empty room. Were my eyes just playing tricks on me? Putting it out of my mind, I made myself a coffee, sat down at my computer and signed into my Facebook. At first glance, my whole Facebook seemed messed up. At this time in the morning, I'd usually have a news feed full of stories from Susan, a girl at work, who sits up into the night sharing dumb videos of cats and the odd "life is precious" meme. But nothing. At the very least, her overly happy "Good Morning Booker" status should be at the top of my news feed. I mean, I'm not complaining, it's just weird. I decided to look on my friends list to check if she had removed me. As I went to click on my friends, I noticed I'd gone from 657 friends down to 492. It's normal to lose one friend here and there, but to lose 165 friends overnight for no reason at all is unheard of. I felt I no longer needed to check to see if Susan was there, as something told me she was one of the 165. But I clicked on my friends list and started typing her name into the search anyway. No surprise, no results. I started to think that maybe my Facebook had been hacked, but nobody had a reason to hack me. There was nothing to gain from it. As far as I know, I hadn't pissed anyone off. Why would anybody want to hack me? Upon looking through my Facebook, I noticed a few more things that were different. My profile picture had changed from a picture of me at work to one of those crappy webcam photos that looks like a mugshot, even though I've never seen that photo in my life. Apparently, I'd recently liked a bunch of pages I don't remember liking. And according to my Facebook, I haven't been employed since a seasonal job I had in December the year before last. None of this made any sense. The missing friends I could put down to hacking. But that is clearly me in that photo, and it looks authentic. And the pages hadn't just been liked overnight either. A couple of them were only a few nights ago when I know I was on Facebook. But I certainly didn't like Pretty Little Liars. I needed to get some fresh air. I got up from my computer and left the house, opting to walk down by the river as opposed to taking a drive somewhere. As I got down by the river, I sat down on the riverbank, relaxing in the blazing sun as the heat engulfed. Some ducks were swimming carelessly upstream, and the sound of running water helped to ease my mind. Suddenly, a thought crossed my mind. Where did that snow come from on my coat? I pondered. The last time I recalled seeing it snow was in that god-awful dream. Then this morning, Roger didn't have a clue who I was. Susan is no longer on my friends list, and I haven't been employed in almost 2 years. "What the hell is going on?" I shouted, startling the nearby ducks. I began to feel like I had thought so much about dimension jumping that my mind had created the illusion that I actually jumped. I had all these questions racing through my mind and not a single answer to any of them. I felt like I was going crazy. But then I had a thought. What if it worked? I had to find out. I had to be sure. I needed to try and get in contact with my mum. I jumped up from the riverbank and ran as fast as I could, all the way home. And just in time too, the sky had gone from a beautiful blue sky to filled with thick gray clouds, and the wind began to pick up. Rushing through the door and slamming it behind me, I ran straight from my computer and signed into Reddit. I posted my experiences on the Dimension Jumping subreddit and asked for advice. Within 2 minutes, I got a reply. It read, "You must go back to your own dimension." "Well, thanks a lot, buddy. I posted here to ask for help and you are just rude," I replied. No sooner had I pressed the send button, the page refreshed and I was greeted with another message. "This sounds to me like you've had a successful jump. Let me be the first to welcome you to 982. But be wary. Nothing good ever comes from jumping to try to resurrect a loved one." At that moment in time, the response could have said anything whatsoever, but all I saw was, "You've had a successful jump," and instantly took to Google to try and track down my mum. I must have been searching for hours. The wind outside my window had picked up, and it had begun to snow. I went and got myself a coffee, lit the coal fire, and went right back to searching for my mum. After another hour or so, I found her in the online directory. What's more, she only lived within a 10-minute drive of me. I jumped up from my computer desk, knocking my seat over. I threw my now cold coffee into the fire, half extinguishing it, and ran out of the front door, grabbing my car keys on the way out. By now the snow was really coming down. Upon stepping out of my door, I was up to my ankles in snow. I ran to my car door, almost ripping it off as I threw it open. Sitting down in my car, I took a moment to take in what was actually about to happen. After all these years, I was finally going to meet my mum for the first time of my adult life. Unbeknown to her, this will be the first time I've seen her since I was 5. I was going to have to play it cool. What if I break down? I thought to myself, what will she be like? Do I have any other siblings in this dimension? Question after question went rushing through my mind. I couldn't take it any longer. I put my key in the ignition, but my car wouldn't start. "Damn weather," I shouted, hitting the steering wheel. After 4 more attempts, and what sounded like an 80-year-old smoker of 60 years having a coughing fit, my car sprung to life. The engine roared. The dashboard lit up like an overly festive house on Christmas Eve. And that familiar sound of my favorite CD started blaring through my speakers. Fitting, I thought, as DFG, Hate That I Miss You, came on the radio. I put my car into gear and made my way to the petrol station. I was down to less than a quarter of a tank of petrol, and with the way my car guzzles fuel, I'd be lucky to even make it to my mum's house, let alone make it back home too. The drive to the petrol station felt long and grueling. Time seemed to slow down, when in reality, it was only a 5-minute drive. I parked up at the petrol station by the pump and put my hand in the money pot behind the gear stick. 15.23, great, more than enough, I thought to myself. Jumping out of my car, I put 10 pounds in my fuel tank and picked up a PS5 bunch of flowers on the way into the station. After make my purchase, I made a dash for the car, placing the flowers on the passenger's seat, and headed across town to my mum's house. It took me just short of 20 minutes to get there. As I pulled up outside, I turned off the engine and sat looking at the house where my mother lived. The lights in the bottom left window were on, and I could see movement behind the curtain. "She's in there," I muttered to myself. "My mum alive, and she's just on the other side of that door." I picked up the flowers from the passenger seat and walked up the garden path. She had a beautiful garden. My mum, rose bushes lining the front of the garden, a path splitting the garden into two halves with poppies running down each side, a huge oak tree in the left-hand side section with a tire swing hanging from it, and a small potted tree on either side of the door, all lined with a beautiful blanket of snow. As I reached the door, I took a sharp, deep breath of the ice-cold air and knocked. Instantly, I could see movement on the other side of the frosted glass. The figure was getting closer to the door, and then it opened. A very pretty, blonde-haired woman answered the door. "Alex?" she said quizzically. "Mum's just gone to your house. Why are you here?" "Mum?" I thought, staring at this woman in confusion. Is she my sister? "Really, damn," I said. "I'll head back over now and try to catch her up." "Okay, not a problem," the woman replied. "Are they for her? Do you want me to take them?" she asked, looking at the flowers. "No, that's okay. I want to hand them to her myself," I replied, already halfway down the garden path. "Oh, okay, see you then," the woman said. "I'll see you tonight when I drop Mum off," I said, jumping into my car. I started up the engine and put my foot down, heading back over to my house. When my mum would be by the time I got there. "I've got a sister," I said out loud. "My mum's alive and I've got a sister." I began getting lost in thought. I didn't focus on anything but the fact I was going to see my mum. And later I was going to meet my sister too. I didn't focus on the CD that had started over again. I didn't focus on the wind and snow hammering into my car. I didn't focus on speed when I was easily doubling the speed limit. And as I was turning onto my street, I didn't focus on the woman in the black dress with the white stripe, stepping out in front of my car. That's a wrap for today on the Midnight Mystery. Hope you guys had as much fun as we did. If you liked what you saw, hit that subscribe button and give us a thumbs up. Oh, and don't be shy. Drop a comment below with your thoughts or any cool mystery ideas you want us to check out. Until next time, we'll see you in the next Midnight Mystery.